This channel is about people who died and came back. Like, I think this may be the most life-changing channel that I've seen in the last 5 years. There are a few commonalities that I've found between all of them and lessons that I learned because they're so similar in what they report. So the channel is called Coming Home. The first thing that they all describe is this out-of-body experience.
The minute I popped out, I was kind of in the corner of the room looking down at the surgeons and looking down at my body. And when you're outside of body, you don't see with normal eyes. You kind of see with this 360-degree vision, and you can zoom in on something, or you can see behind you, but it's not that important. You know, you're mainly looking at what you're looking at. But I remember the tops of the surgeons' heads, and I remember their hands, and I remember that there was a song on the radio. There was actually an Elvis song on the radio. It was the easy listening station. And so I was like, oh, I know this station. And so there was, you know, a lot of awareness of the room itself and of the surgeons.
When people describe what they saw, it's actually accurate. Like, there's this one guy who was explaining how he walked into another room and saw his family, and he could tell them in what order they were sitting next to each other, and it was accurate. So there's something to it. Another thing that I found interesting is that they all described what a weird experience it was to be dead all of a sudden. And it was almost like this seamless, weird, confusing experience.
I turned to go where she's going, and I took about 3 steps, and I run into myself on the ground. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm dead. And it was such a shock. I fully expected that when you died, there would be some sort of anything. Something would happen to tell you, you know, bells, whistles, who knows what. But there would be some sort of a signal that, hey, buddy, you're dead.
Dude, bad news. You're dead.
Yeah, like, all of them described this confusion they had where they're like, what the hell is happening? What happens after these, as soon as they notice they're dead, is that they feel this energy come through them. This indescribable feeling of love like you've never felt before. And it's impossible to describe. And so there's this one guy, he, I can't say the S word. Yeah, people say unalived. He unalived himself. Ended up surviving.
Survived. Okay.
Ended up surviving. I think he jumped out of a car or something like that, and had some traumatic brain injury.
Got it. Okay, I was thinking, I'm like, how? Okay.
I just get this feeling right here from the most dominant force you'll ever feel in your life. I knew it was God because you just know. It was that strong. I could compare it to being hit by lightning every time. Just constantly. After every statement, just pew, pew, pew. And I had a bunch of questions in my head. And just in the order the questions were in my head, they were answered. I was thinking, who are you? So it was like, let me reintroduce myself. I am God. Yes, I am real. Yes, angels are real. They're a gift from me. Want to meet them? I didn't believe in angels, so I said no. I'm like, I don't want to see no angels. I don't believe in that stuff. Oh, that stuff for TV.
They also dive into the story of how they died and their life. And I mean, he had a really tough upbringing without love. Like, his mom literally put him into a dumpster as a baby, just left him. And then, you know, he was in a really abusive family and everything. And he was not religious. And the moment he feels it, he's like, this is God. You just know it. And the implications of that, like, if they're all describing the same thing, there's something to it.
Dude, have you, what's that guy's name, the astrophysicist? Neil
deGrasse Tyson?
Yes. Basically, he was saying how...
There are a lot of unknowns in the universe, but just because they're unknowns does not mean there's a deity. The history of that exercise is so rich with science discovering the unknowns that were previously ascribed to deity.
So at the end of the day, it's like, if you're uncertain about what's happening in your body and it's never been told, the first thing you're going to go to is God, because that's the unexplainable. That's your safety net. And he said there's a name for that concept.
Exactly. When there's lightning, it was like, that must be God.
God,
right?
yeah.
And so I think chances are that as we continue to figure out science and new discoveries, and we move forward in our research with consciousness, maybe we do eventually figure out what is God, and we can put logic behind it, right? I think we're still very far away from it, but that's what we're moving towards, right? this is the third commonality, they realize what they're experiencing then is the real thing and life was just an illusion. This is a scientist, and this is what she described.
Welcome home. When it said that, welcome home, I lost it. Because I remembered. That's when it came back to me. And I knew immediately, oh my God, that life that I had on earth was just an illusion. That thing that I was doing down there on earth was really just a temporary state. And this is real. It was like so obvious.
And so this is what they describe over and over again as you watch these videos. And they have, again, dozens of these videos. And literally saying, oh, this is real life. Life on Earth it's just this theater where we're just playing roles and we're all putting on a costume and we're just there to learn things. And so they even describe how they look at their body and they're just like, that's not me. I'm here. That's just the shell that I was in before. And they're just like, huh. And they say what they're experiencing when they're dead is that that's way more real. Like they see, like they feel things they could have never felt before. And they're seeing colors that you can't see in real life. It's indescribable colors. Time doesn't exist. The time structure is not the same. And what they were describing is that it's almost like when they got put back into their bodies, the brain was like a limiter. Like they could see everything, know everything, but then the brain limits it to this. You can only know certain things. It's almost like the brain is a receiver and we have access to way more information than our brain can hold. That's kind of like we're living in a simulation, literally. The other thing that they all described was angels and light beings.
Do you believe in that?
My percentage increased after watching all this stuff.
Yeah, do you think-
I'm not 100%, yeah, of course, but it tripled my belief in it. When they're all describing that, it's like, and they all say the same thing. It's these huge, these giant figures, 9 feet tall, big beings, these light beings, and they have telepathic communication. So they don't talk. You just know the answer. And yeah, one woman was also saying you have a guardian angel your whole life. So when they meet these angels, another common thing that happens is they see a review of their life with lessons. It's almost like a movie screen where it's just like, hey, they see all the good stuff they've done, the bad stuff they've done, and they see where they could have been better, you know? And so the people who came back, which is, I mean, all the ones that we see, obviously, they were given a purpose in life and sent back. Where it was something like, okay, this guy, he saw himself as a kid and just how joyful he was. And he was like, oh, my purpose is to spread joy and laughter. And sometimes it was like very specific, like you're going to be a teacher now and you're going to do this. You're going to spread joy, you're going to spread love. And it was all about this idea that there's two forces, love and fear. And they just saw how they treated others and how it made them feel and how sometimes they hurt others and they're like, oh, I could have been better here. And they all said the same thing, which is they came back to life and they realized the purpose of life is for us to learn in this lifetime on earth and progress our souls, to love more, to serve others, and to just learn. And so the earth is not a judgment reality where we're here to do good and then we're judged by the end with a score. No, it's a learning place. It's where you go to learn. And the people who unalived themselves and came back, they all regretted it. They were like, that was a huge mistake because I'm here to learn something and I just quit. It's like, no, you're here for a reason. And you notice that they all come back with a gift. Like one woman was describing how she was a lot more intuitive now and she could actually feel people's pain, which she couldn't do before, right? This other guy, he was describing how he all of a sudden became obsessed with music. He's like, I need to listen to piano music right now. He just had this strong urge. And then he would learn the piano and now he's like incredible at playing piano and he had the music come to him. Like he's just like, I'm just channeling it. He's receiving it from something. It's just like, like he sleeps at night and then he wakes up and he like goes to the piano and immediately starts playing. And he said it's the closest thing that he could feel to this blissful feeling that he felt when he was dead. This other guy, this army veteran, he started joining a breakdancing club. and other dancing clubs and, you know, things that he would have never done before, but he always wanted to do. And yeah, they're all like reincarnation exists. Like afterlife exists. Your loved ones aren't dead. They only left their body. And a lot of them saw their loved ones too, but as a younger version. And obviously the big commonality between all of them is they don't fear death anymore. Like knowing this, how does this change your outlook on life?
I think one of the worst things that can happen in somebody's life is they lose hope.
Oh yeah.
And I think this, it like gives you that, even if it's a quote unquote lie or whatever, even if they do all AI and they're fake, it still gives you that level of hope to push through. I think a human with hope is unstoppable. Human without hope, that's when life, there's no point in living at that point.
It's man's search for meaning, Viktor Frankl, right?
Yeah.
It's the people who didn't have a vision of it can get better, we can make it through. They died like that.
Yeah.
And he made it through. And I think that's the number one reason why people quit the simulation that we're in. Is because they lose hope. It doesn't matter how bad your life is, when you have hope that it'll get better, it'll keep you going.
100%.
Right? But I think once that's taken away, you're like, there's no point. How would we live if we truly knew that there's people who've been on the other side, they said it's great, and we're just here to learn? And in the end, nothing really matters. Like this woman, she was describing this feeling of love so powerfully. And this is not the only one. There's 2 or 3 people that I've heard say exactly this. This is how powerful that feeling is.
And he said, I have to stop hiding. I have to go back. I did come back. I didn't want to. I didn't like the idea, even though I love my children. And I would have left them behind. But I knew they would be fine. You only come back if you're made to come back.
She has children. She dies, and she's like, this is so great.
That feeling is so much more powerful.
And there's multiple people who said this. This other woman right here that I showed multiple times before already, when she got back into her body and she was alive again, she was like, send me back. I don't want to be here. Same thing with the piano guy.
Cut the cord.
Same thing with the piano guy. He's like, oh no. And so this is Harry Potter quote. Oh, now we're into Harry Potter. Okay.
Harry Potter school.
I'm bringing it here. Dumbledore says,
do not pity the dead, Harry. Pity the living. And above all those who live without love.
And I think that's
powerful.
Is living actually hell? And we're just going here to learn so we can come back to source?
Imagine we're the only one, we're the ones that went to hell. We just didn't realize it.
Damn, yeah, we have to redeem ourselves. But this is literally what one of the guys was saying. It's like, yeah, I mean, we're just here to learn our lessons so we can come back to source. You listen to a few of these, you see the same patterns again and again and again, and you can't be like, oh, this is just all random. No, why is it all the same stuff? And again, these are not spiritual woo-woo people in Bali who just came from a ayahuasca retreat who was like, okay, you're wearing yoga pants, you have dreadlocks, okay, of course you're talking about that stuff. But like if it's like the carpenter next door who's like, you know, just a random dude, I'm like, okay, you know, and then an army guy, and then a single mom, and then just all sorts of people. So they were also saying like they were in heaven and they saw flowers that were so beautiful, you can't even describe them, with colors that we don't even have, and they could feel every single flower. They could feel everything. Everything was energy, which we can't wrap our head around because we have brains that limit this experience. And so, yeah, fascinating. Yeah, that's the first topic. We're going super deep.